What's going on, team? It's your boy G, and today we're going to be talking about Avatar, The Way of the Water. This movie has been 13 years in the making, bro. Last time we had an Avatar movie, bro, I was a freaking kid. Now we're on two, bro. And if you ain't been on socials and you're not really hip, James Cameron been talking that mess. So my main question going into this movie was, will it live up to the hype, bro? Because James Cameron, he was going crazy. I seen something where they was like, this movie is so good that you can go and take a bathroom break because you're gonna want to see it again. Who says that? Who wants somebody to leave to take a bathroom break, bro? That's a movie rule, bro. You don't do that. So going into this thing, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I was a little skeptical. And I gotta say, bro, we came through. They came through with this joint. If I was to describe this movie in one word, bro, it'd probably be beautiful, bro, because it's just a beautiful story, a beautiful world, beautiful character building. Like, it was so freaking good, bro. And then something I wasn't really expecting going into this, there was a tale of fatherhood, you know? I mean, one of my biggest fears about this movie was that it was going to be repetitive. Or we're going to get the same cookie cutter thing that we got in the first movie. I'm happy to report that it wasn't, which if you've seen the trailer, you could probably gather that. But they took care of that right away because they set us in a new environment that allows us to not only get reacquainted with the world, but also see new things. So that was freaking fire. And then the kids, bro. The kids in this movie were outstanding. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I think this movie is way better than the first one. So those are my initial thoughts. Let's get into this character breakdown. Alright, y'all, we gotta start off with the main protagonist, the OG of OGs, Jake Sully, aka Sam Worthington. I love to be able to see him as a father versus just being a warrior, because in this movie Jake's more of the peacekeeper. Whether it's in his relationship with his wife or his kids getting in trouble, he's always just trying to keep the peace. But I do wish he would take more initiative when, I don't know, you see your home being burnt down. Like, I get that, you know, you want to be the hero and you want to protect your family, but to basically have one bad day and kind of give up on everything that you fought to protect, it's a little wild to me. But I also think that's one of the things that make him such a great character, because he's choosing family over everything else, basically. So that in combination of like how, if you really look at Avatar, like Jake Sully is not the greatest warrior to ever live. Now Neytiri, that's a whole nother story, but you could tell the humans valued him for his brain more so than his brawn, because it wasn't the fact that he was out there going crazy and murking everybody. No, it was because of the way that he organized and planned out their attacks to where they pretty much always had the upper hand. So I like that they were able to explain that, help justify like why we're even leaving in the first place. But next, we got to talk Neytiri, man, or Zoe Saldana, because to me, she still is the GOAT in this movie, but I don't know why. It just felt like she didn't really have no lines in this one. Like, no real monologue. Every moment she had was kind of more of a reaction to what else was going on. And it felt like she was just screaming the whole movie. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I still love her character regardless, because she's the real warrior in this family. And she be doing that joint with just a bow and arrow, bro. Now, when we get to the final arc of the movie, she definitely has her moment. But going throughout, when everybody's kind of learning this new way of life, we never really get to see her do that. And they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I think they adapted pretty well in this movie. All right, next we got to start talking about the kids in this movie, because they held it down. And the movie was mainly about them. So first things first, we got to talk about Carrie, who was basically a wizard, bro. Like, she was using the force out there, no cap. Her storyline was one of my favorites because of just her origin, you know, and her discovering like who she is and what she wants to be, because she was born in such a crazy way. And low-key reminds me of Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. But then we got to talk about the real star of the show, man. Luwak, who was played by Britton Dalton, who was basically like the outcast of the family, the troublemaker, and he had like real main character energy, bro, because his storyline like really drew you in, because he was probably like one of the more relatable characters in this movie. We got to see like a coming of age story / a love story, which is something that was really big in the first initial Avatar movie. I don't know, I really liked his character because they kind of like sprinkled a little bit of everything in it, and I don't know, he just gave MC vibes, bro. It was really dope. And then we can't forget the Colonel, bro. This was probably the last person that I expected to see in this movie just because, you know, he died in the first one. But for them to be able to bring him back in such a nuanced way that, you know, I'm sure will have greater implications in the movies to come. Our main antagonist, bro. And of course, it's played by Stephen Lang, who they actually made better, bro. Like, bringing him back as an avatar and not just a bad guy again is a very risky decision to me, just because if you don't do it right, you'll get into the realm of that whole repetitive type thing that I was talking about earlier, which would be bad, right? But since they brought him back as an avatar, we get to see him not just come back as just a bad guy, right? We see him go through his own training arc that makes us as viewers build somewhat of a rapport with him. Like, there's moments in this movie where he's not just evil, right? Like, if you ask me, bro, I think now that he has this whole other complex of being an avatar through and through, and then all these other memories, I think he's going to be a potential really good anti-hero in the future. Now, his hatred for Jake Sully to me is misplaced just because Interior is the one that killed him. But with the addition of Spider, who is his human version's son, that's going to be a really cool dynamic to see later on. I think he does a good job of being the main antagonist in this movie because he still has that same ruthlessness, but there's some second guessing going on in his conscience. So overall, made him a really dynamic character and I mess with him. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Na'vi clans that we saw in this movie. Not necessarily specifically, but, you know, just like the tree/jungle/mountain clan that we're accustomed to, and then the ocean clan. Because getting that first initial narration from Jake Sully and getting to see, you know, their life as a family together gave you a false sense of security that, you know, was a great way to just get you back into just being on Pandora again, right? But it was almost like they built this up to break us back down once the humans make their return, which of course brings back destruction and war and sets the main characters on their journey. So I thought that was really cool. And then we went to the ocean, bro, and that's when things really turned up because we got to see them start from zero. They literally said it in the movie, like, yo, we're gonna treat you like your babies. And we got to see them learn this whole new way of life. Everybody excepting Terry for some reason, who took a little bit more convincing. It was definitely like one of my favorite parts of this movie. And then just to even get more into it, like just being able to see the different physiology of ocean tribes, for them, you know, having fins and bigger arms and like their tail and the way they move in the water, it really made me believe like, yo, they really did grow up in the ocean, bro. Like, I was really impressed with that. And then it just got me to thinking of like, yo, like, when did they evolve to do that? Like, it's just so much lore and world building that like just made me really happy when I was watching this movie. I'm not gonna cap. And it just really has me interested in seeing all the different clans and just be able to actually break down what makes them different and what makes them the same, because they still had similar core values just because they're still like the same people. But it was just really dope to see him compared to what we already knew. And then lastly, of course, like, we gotta talk a little bit about the humans just because they were kind of only used as a plot device in this movie, but you can tell that, you know, they're still working. Now they have a whole compound and they're ready to really get busy because their earth is still dying. So it makes sense that they wouldn't just give up on the first movie, but I'm glad they took more of the subtle approach because, like I said before, I didn't want to get back into that whole repetitive theme that I was talking about before. And then it also made for a really, really action-packed final act. Like, dang, I almost forgot they was in the movie. And then also I was trying to figure out like, yo, what are they trying to tell us? Like, this is little mixed messaging in this joint is like, are they trying to tell me something about whales? Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. But overall, that's pretty much all I got for the character breakdown. So far, so good in this movie. They going crazy, bro. But next, let's start getting into this plot. So like I said before, man, I really enjoyed the opening to this movie because there was a rise and fall, right? And I was really happy that they changed their environment because it just added more variables to the equation and more things for us to, you know, just learn. And it felt refreshing versus being repetitive. And I gotta say, bro, it was elite world building at its finest. Like, only getting a glimpse at the human compound, but just knowing that they're somewhere, you know, starting to try to create their own lives on this planet, bro, had me like, bro, like, we didn't even get to this. Like, what are we doing, bro? But we also got to see all these new Na'vi tribes, bro. I was just like really impressed with the amount that they were able to fit into this movie. And I mean, the movie was 4 hours, bro. It was really long, but when I was watching it, I was loving every minute of it. I love this tale of two fathers that we got to see between Jake Sully and the Colonel, right? Because Jake walked us through his whole family history of like his journey and understanding like what it was to be a father. And then we got to see it in real time throughout the movie, which which was like the whole present father approach. But then when we look at the Colonel, who is not really the Colonel, but an avatar version of the Colonel with all the memories of him, seeing him kind of discover fatherhood over the course of this movie was really interesting too. And I gotta say, bro, the whole fatherhood angle was an easy win, bro, because the kids made it ridiculously easy for us to get those moments because they were so freaking good. Like, the kids really carried the plot in this movie because we just didn't know what to expect from them. They were new, you know, and the OG cast and the new cast, the chemistry was impeccable, bro. I mean, they brought back young love stories that we loved in the first Avatar movie, right? But they also connected us to new characters. And all of this happened throughout this movie, bro. And even though the movie was long, it didn't matter to me because I was locked in, bro. Now, I do wish like the humans' plan in this movie was a little bit deeper than just catching Jake Sully, right? Like, we get Jake Sully, we win. Like, no, like I don't buy that. But if we're just looking at this movie in isolation, I think it works. And I really think Neytiri is the one they need to be worried about because she was catching bodies left and right, and Jake Sully was kind of just shooting cover fire, it seemed like a lot of times. It looked really cool, but we all know Neytiri is the one they need to watch out for because if you come between her and her family, bruh, it's a clip for you, bro. Now, one of the things I was worried about in this movie were the stakes because obviously the humans are going to have the same goal. They're trying to inhabit this planet, but the natives won't let them. The way they were able to establish, you know, how high the stakes were in the beginning of this movie and keep it there throughout the duration of this movie was impressive, bro. I'm not going to cap, because the losses that were taken, you know, even if in the grand scheme of things, they might not be such a big deal if we just looking like completely outward, but in this moment it was impactful, but it wasn't overpowering. So I really like that, especially coming off of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I need some feel goods, you know, some feel good movies. So that in combination with the final act of this movie, bruh, it's probably one of my favorites out of like all the movies I've seen this year. And even though I pretty much knew how the movie was going to end like way before it ended, the movie kept me engaged, and it's definitely something that I would watch again if I had the time, because you can't just turn on Avatar Way to Water, bro. You got to set time aside. So that's what I got for the plot and just the pacing of this movie, man. Let's get into my final thoughts. All right, y'all. So this movie was 13 years in the making, bro. And I'm glad they took every single second, because I don't know what technology they had to create to make this movie look more real than real life itself, but they did it, bro. It was worth it, like that. And I just love the world, bro. Like, y'all know me, bro. I love my characters and I love like world building, right? So for me, the world is what really stood out in this movie, especially because we saw it in 3D, right? I didn't realize how big of a difference that would make, just because I haven't really watched that many 3D movies since the first Avatar movie. Like, that changed the game. So if you can, I definitely suggest that you see this movie in 3D. Now, I think this movie was pretty funny. Was it the funniest thing I ever seen? No, but it's like kid humor. You know what I'm saying? Like, the kids were freaking hilarious in this movie, and they actually made me care, bro. Like, that's really rare, because I knew like going into this movie, like the spectacle was going to be there, but to be able to introduce this amount of characters and make me care about them too after going on a 13-year hiatus, like, bro, that's big, bro. That's big. And just the amount of lore that was in this movie is crazy to me, because it just made the world feel so big. I just loved every second of it, bro. And like I said earlier, bro, like, I went into this movie pretty skeptical because of the spectacle that is named James Cameron. Don't get me wrong, I was still excited, but I was definitely prepared to be underwhelmed, because this man James Cameron was slicing this joint. But I gotta say it, man, James Cameron was right, bro. This joint is like that. Like, if you haven't, I don't think I really said that many bad things about this movie, bro, because there's not much, bro. This joint really goes crazy. So I gotta get into this, bro. The G-File score for Avatar The Way of the Water is a 10 out of 10. A great way to end the year, bro, and I can't wait for the next one. And yes, I said next one because he got these joints playing back to back to back. Now, hopefully, it doesn't take another 13 years. I doubt that it will, because now they got the tech, right? So I'm thinking like 2. Really, I hope 1, but 2 makes sense in my brain, you know? So this is movie number 1 this year. I don't know. Check out the podcast, because we're going to be doing a Why I'm Geeked Awards soon. We're going to give out Best Picture, but it's definitely up there. You know what I'm saying? And I've been catching up on the movies that I missed. So just be sure to tune into the podcast as well. But, you know, other than that, man, I really enjoyed this movie. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of the movie and just, you know, my thoughts on it. And then, you know, make sure you hit that like button because that really helps the channel. You know, I need to do better at saying this just because it really does help with the algorithm. And I appreciate everybody that tunes into these reviews here on YouTube or on all our social platforms. I appreciate y'all. Nonetheless, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one, man. Y'all be easy on the vibes. Always keep growing, so you're going to be your boy G. I'm gone. Peace.